Hey, what is up? Welcome to this episode of the Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian Lofermento. And if when you started your business, you thought to yourself, gosh, it's going to be so convenient. I get to do whatever I want to do. That's not always the case, especially when it comes to legal compliance, especially when it comes to running payroll and all the finance and tax stuff that we all have to pay attention to. Unfortunately, we can't ignore it. Well, that's why I'm so grateful for guests like today's guest and entrepreneurs like today's guest, because there are so many incredible companies out there that understand what it means to be an entrepreneur and a business owner and have built incredible solutions. And today's guest not only is one of us as a fellow entrepreneur, but understands the very real pains of payroll. And he has built an incredible business and an incredible solution to help people with payroll when it comes to costs, when it comes to streamlining it, when it comes to accuracy, all that good stuff. So let me introduce you to Lorenzo Di Stefano. Lorenzo is a seasoned entrepreneur and the founder of GoPayroll AI, which is a fully automated payroll platform for small businesses. He has owned and operated multiple businesses himself, including a multi-location restaurant chain with over 200 employees. So that is why he can very much draw from firsthand experience and exactly why he built GoPayroll AI to eliminate the time and cost burdens of traditional payroll, saving business owners up to 50%. And I would actually argue, and I probably will argue with him on air, that it can save businesses way more than that, because I've used so many bad solutions in the past. That's why I'm excited that we're all going to be introduced to his company, his solution, and inside the mind of an amazing entrepreneur. So let's dive straight into my interview with Lorenzo Di Stefano. All right, Lorenzo, I am so very excited that you're here with us today. First things first, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Brian. I'm so excited here to be with the entrepreneur community. I feel so identified with this community. I've been an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur, so I know exactly what it is to be in your audience's shoes.
Yes, I love it. Lorenzo, that's the thing. Whenever people look at the name of the show, I'm just like, every single person who's taken action and become an entrepreneur, we so deeply resonate with the entrepreneurial side. That's why we're definitely going to talk about your business. We're definitely going to talk about your journey. And let's start by you taking us beyond the bio. Who's Lorenzo? How did you start doing all this cool stuff?
You know what? If I really think about it, when did it all start? I would say it started when I was about 6 years old. And it started because my mom thought I was stealing money, believe it or not, when I was 6 years old. Because I would come back home from school with a pack of cash for weeks and months, and she would think that I was stealing money. And what I was actually doing was selling stuff, in school to kids, snacks, anything I could find to sell. And that's when I realized that first I loved money and I loved entrepreneurship, and that was like the moment that it all started. And since then, I've been involved in so many different industries, so many different businesses, and I'm a true entrepreneur at heart.
Yeah, I love that overview. Lorenzo, I do want to take a few minutes because you and I very much are going to be talking about pain points together here today, because obviously your business today solves a giant pain point that we all experience, especially as our businesses grow. So even for the entrepreneurial audience, there's a lot of lessons and considerations that they'll pick up today. So walk us through what that business transition looks like, because I am so in awe. Anyone who has grown anything in the food and beverage industry, I'm like, that's a hustler. Most people don't understand what goes into it. I've got family who are in that industry. I've never been there, but Lorenzo, paint the picture of your entrepreneurial journey up to this point.
You know what? That word that you use, hustler, is probably the best word to describe anyone that's in the hospitality industry. It's so tough, but at the same time, it teaches you so many things and so many different aspects of business. Because for example, a restaurant, a hotel has all the different industries in one place. You have finance, you have customer service, you have HR, you have sales, you have marketing, you have advertising, all of them in one single place. So you do learn a lot. And yes, I was involved and own a multi-unit restaurant concept, 5 units in total, over 200 employees. And it was very tough. Luckily, I was able to exit out of that, sold the company, and that's where the idea for payroll processing and automating payroll originated, because I was a first-hand pain. I experienced firsthand the pain of running payroll for 200 people, calculating regular hours, overtime, tips, commissions, job codes. It was such a nightmare when payroll week came because you had so many different variables and someone needed to do all of those calculations. And with GoPayroll AI, we just automated the entire process. And when payroll week comes, you just press click, approve, and payroll is done. That could be for one employee, or that could be for 1,000, 2,000 employees. It's exactly the same, fully automated. So I would say, to the audience that's listening to this, I think it's so important that whatever you're trying to build, you really experience, or at least get into your customer's shoes and experience the pain points. Why are you building this? Is someone going to use it? So you really need to be empathetic and think about why and the pain points, and think exactly how your customer would think. And if you're not sure, just go and talk to customers. So that's how it all got started.
Yeah, I love that origin story, Lorenzo, because you and I joked a little bit off air about how we both know how painful that is. And I will say this, I don't think I've ever actually talked about this in 1,200 plus episodes on the air, is that the thing that surprised me the most when I reached that first inflection point of some serious growth, that I thought the hardest parts were going to be when you just start your business. And in fact, as I continue to grow, I realized it actually gets more complicated the more that you grow. Life is easy as a sole proprietor. You don't have to run payroll. You can simply pay yourself, and it's really cool. You can just transfer some funds. This is not legal advice. Consult an accountant. But along those lines, once you reach a certain point, there's tax advantages to becoming, let's say, an S Corp. Now, by law, you have to run payroll, even if it's just to yourself. And Lorenzo, not only was I paying myself, I was paying my team. That's when I realized firsthand how complex this stuff is. For listeners who have never been down that path, I'd love for you to talk to them about why payroll. It sounds like such a corporate thing that you and I are talking about, but it reaches every entrepreneur once you hit a certain level of growth. So why do we care about payroll? What does running it entail? Why is that such a pain point?
Well, like you said, when you have a business, you must run payroll. You're going to have to pay your employees. You mentioned a word that you just said, corporate, and that's actually one of the motivators. Aside from being, understanding the pain point, these large corporations like ADP, Paycom, Paychex, Gusto, QuickBooks, all these very large corporations have they're lacking behind in technology. They're so big that they don't adapt fast, and they haven't really upgraded their payroll systems with the current AI technologies and the automations that are available to the market. So that's one of the motivations of why we decided to do payroll, aside from being a first-hand user. So that's what I would say so far.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about that AI input then, because you're right. As someone who uses many of the tools, unfortunately, that you just listed, a lot of them are still a bit in the Stone Ages. And to their credit, they're bigger boats. It's harder to shift those. And they do have, probably millions of customers across a lot of those tools that you just listed there. So, of course, they will be slower to the adoption of these technologies. That's why I love small business owners. That's why I love entrepreneurship. Lorenzo, you get to be one of those innovators that brings this to the marketplace. Talk to us about how AI factors into the way that your solution works.
Yeah, so AI, what we do is it reads and interprets all the data from your business. So it tracks, let's say Lorenzo, I work usually, 40 hours a week, or let's say 43.5 hours a week. That's my average, what I usually work. So the AI reads and understands the patterns of Lorenzo or all of your employees, and it lets you know when there's something off pattern, something's wrong. Something should not be, you should not be paying Lorenzo 55 hours this week, because usually when he comes to the restaurant, he works 43.5 hours on average. So it lets you know that something is wrong before you run payroll. So it's like having your own AI employee working full time before you run payroll, auditing all of your payroll records, all of your, going back to the restaurant example, auditing the average tips that Lorenzo makes, the average hours that Lorenzo makes, if he makes any overtime, any commissions. So he understands how each employee usually works, and lets you know if there are any possible errors or anything off pattern, so you don't have to overpay anything. And aside from that, the whole process is fully automated. In the back end, behind the scenes, our AI automates everything. So it grabs the data from your time tracking system, from your POS system, and then automatically produces your payroll run when payroll week comes, and you just have to click pay.
Yeah, Lorenzo, you just effortlessly rattled off so many different things that there are to consider within a payroll period. I mean, it's not just hourly, it's not just salary. You talked about commissions. Obviously, I mean, on your website, I love the fact that you call out, there's a lot of contractors that we all work with. I know behind the scenes of my businesses, we have a very healthy blend of a lot of different compensation styles as well as employment styles. What do those considerations look like? Because I would imagine that when you build the solution that you've built, you have to understand the business component of it. And of course, that's what you picked up along your own entrepreneurial journey. But what are all of those different inputs that we as users need to incorporate into the way that GoPayroll AI works?
Yeah, so it all depends on the type of business that you have. So let's say, let's do a couple examples for the audience, just to paint a picture. Again, going back to the restaurant, if you have a restaurant, you could have a food truck with, 3 employees, or you could have a restaurant, just one restaurant with 30 or 50 employees. So let's go back to the food truck example. You have 3 employees, all of them earn tips on a daily basis, because they do. And then when payroll week comes, you might split out those tips equally between all your 3 team members, or you might split out different portions, different percentages to each person, because the back of the house might get more or might get less, etc. Depending on how you structure your business, you have different percentages or different ways to spread out the funds when payroll week comes. So that's one thing to consider if you're small, like a food truck. Now, if you're larger, like a 50 employee restaurant, you will also have the same variables, but it's just a lot more work to do that. You will probably need to pay someone to run payroll for you, do all these calculations, or have complex Excel spreadsheets, Google Sheet spreadsheets in the back doing all these calculations. And these are things you need to consider. Now, if you have like a logistics business, or you have a spa, or you have a hair salon, you're going to have also a car dealership. You're going to have different variables as well. You could have service charge, you could have tips, you could have miles driven and reimbursements. So all of these variables are unique to each business, but the majority of businesses have some sort of complex calculation that comes into payroll. Now, some other businesses are super simple, where it's just salaried employees. It's a constant on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, and you just run payroll. So you can also run payroll like that in our platform, and it's just automatic. You don't even need to think about it. You can just set it on auto pay, and every 2 weeks, I'll just pay your employees direct deposit automatically, and it's like, set and forget.
I love it. Lorenzo, you already know how much I love what you've built with GoPayroll AI, so we're definitely going to continue talking about that, but we've got to focus on probably one of the biggest pain points, and I love the fact that, just knowing what I know about your business already, that you actively address it, and that is, of course, tax season. That's one of the biggest things. That the very first year that I ran payroll in my businesses, Lorenzo, I didn't realize all the different tax implications that come with it. The tax forms, which are a mountain of forms that we must submit to the IRS, both for ourselves and on behalf of our employees as well, so that they have all of their information, of course, W-2s, all the 1099s that we have to do. How does that populate? And of course, this is a bit of a softball because I know the answer. Does it populate from GoPayroll AI? And then what does that look like on the back end?
Yeah, that's a great thing. You probably experience hands-on how to do all those forms, but honestly, at this time, you don't need to do that. GoPayroll AI just does it all for you. You don't even need to learn about taxes. It handles all the W-2s, all the 1099s, all the different forms that you need to file with the federal government, state and local entities as well. And you just, get a subscription, activate it, set it up, and set and forget. You don't need to worry about taxes, so it's completely handled for you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then I'm going to really push you here on the air because, Lorenzo, the more I hear about your business and the more I see of your business, to me, it seems like a no-brainer. And I'm really excited about the future. And obviously, AI is bringing the future to us much faster than what we've previously experienced. With this being such a no-brainer, I just think about all the businesses that you inevitably talk to and how much you not only save them money, because it's a human that's probably doing a lot of this stuff behind the scenes, you make it more accurate and more timely for their entire team, whether it's employees, 1099s, whatever it may be. You're taking a lot of stress off the business owner. What are the sales objections? What are the stumbling blocks? What are the things that you're hearing from people in the marketplace? Because I'm sure most people are like me where they think, yeah, this makes absolute sense and it's a perfect application for AI.
Yeah, before I answer that, let me just say, aside from saving time, saving money, and all that, also accuracy. I had a client that received a lawsuit from for not filing accurate taxes, payroll taxes, and not paying employees correctly because of these manual mistakes that were made during payroll. So with our system, you would even save that as well, which is more important than honestly saving time and money. And some of these legacy companies, even though they're huge, they're so large that they still make mistakes when it comes to filing taxes. So it's something not a lot of people know about. I know because I'm in the trenches and I know when they make mistakes. So it's not like you can just blindly trust ADP, Paycom, Gus's, all these large companies, because they make mistakes when filing taxes. On our end, it's fully automated, computer generated. No human does that, so it's 100% compliant. So I just wanted to throw that in because a lot of people don't think about lawsuits when it comes to payroll processing, and it is a real risk. So going back to your question, answering objections, people are hesitant to change, and sometimes they might think this sounds too good to be true. Honestly, in this case, it is true. I mean, we do save you money, at least 50% on your payroll fees compared to all the other competitors, and we save you time. It's something we are doing. So that's probably one of the biggest objections that we see when we speak to clients, when we're out prospecting, when we're doing out sales calls. And also, going against these incumbents, these large corporations, they're huge, billion or probably $1 trillion corporations that we're fighting against. But that's also a competitive advantage because we're small, we're nimble. We can tackle sales differently and more personalized. We spend more time with our clients. We provide them direct customer service lines via text, WhatsApp, phones. So, for our audience here in the podcast, it's not about freezing or not taking action or thinking that the task is too big or if you're fighting a giant. There's always ways to beat a giant. You just need to find them and be agile and test and go out there and just speak and keep going. So that's kind of the objections we've seen so far, the biggest ones.
Yeah, I love the fact that you call out it's possible to beat the giants. And in fact, when you say that, Lorenzo, where my head really goes is oftentimes the giants aren't the giants simply because they have a better product. It's because they have name recognition. They have that brand that we all recognize. Everybody else uses them. So inevitably we get recommended those things. And then once we're inside and once we see those pain points, and I can speak on behalf of myself, of course, when it comes to being a customer of a lot of your competitors, what I've realized is that they really lure you in and get you stuck in through a very effective business strategy, which is high switching costs. It's not easy for people to switch off of their existing financial services. How are you guys handling that? I'm super curious if you guys have a transition process, an onboarding process. What does that look like for clients?
Yeah, so that's a great competitive advantage of ours. We do the entire transition on behalf of our clients completely. So they don't have to worry about anything. Let's say we're switching clients constantly from ADP, for example, which is the largest payroll provider right now. And we just do the migration ourselves. Our team does it for them. They just need to activate their GoPayroll account depending on the size within a few days or weeks. We migrate all the data and you're up and running in our platform without you lifting a finger, which is something none of the other companies will do for you. So that's how we help you change and migrate in a frictionless manner. Super easy for you.
I love that. And it's important. I think that more and more high touch businesses like yours, Lorenzo, who have that commitment to service, that's, of course, a lot of people might look at that and say, well, that's not scalable forever. And that's why I've always said that doing the things that aren't scalable is going to give you a business worth scaling. And that's why you've already called out the fact that you guys are nimble. That is a huge advantage. And the fact that we get to hear from the founder yourself here on this podcast and all the other marketing channels that you're on, I think that's the cool stuff. And of course, so much of it is enabled through AI. And I don't think we can talk about that enough. Obviously, on a business podcast, we do talk about it a lot. How comfortable are you talking about pricing here on the air? Because obviously your pricing, to me as a consumer, that is a huge consideration. You've talked about saving 50%. I can honestly tell you on the air that a lot of the tools that I've previously used, your pricing model would save me well over 50%. Talk to us about the model that you've carved out for yourself. And obviously numbers will change over time, but it's clear to me that you're leveraging that high tech in order to be highly attainable to so many small businesses.
Yeah, definitely. So our promise is we'll save you at least 50% on your current payroll fees. That's granted. We can guarantee that. But on average, we usually save even more to our clients. So our pricing starts at $29 per month, $3 per employee per month, which is, if you compare, it's more than 50% of what our competitors, more than 50% of savings versus our competitors. And depending on the packages that you choose, the automation, the speed of delivery of direct deposits, it could vary a little bit higher, up to $99 per month and $6 per employee per month. But let's say you're a small business, you're getting started, you really need to pay your employees accurately and in an automatic way. You can get up and running $29 a month, $3 per employee per month, and unlimited payroll runs.
Yeah, that's incredible. I love that. And that unlimited payroll runs, that is an incredible feature as well, because that's something that you're limited on so many different platforms. Lorenzo, I want to zoom out a little bit with you because I'm always constantly excited about the future of AI. A lot of people, we hear from a lot of listeners that are cautious about it and have some concerns about it. Obviously, you very much see the potential in it. You've built a business on top of AI and empowered by AI, which allows you to more deeply serve your clients. What's your view on it? What's the future of AI? Whether it's within your industry, whether it's within your company, or even on a more macro level, where do you think we are in the development of AI?
You know what? It's another tool that it's definitely going to change the world, and it's already changed the world. And in many industries, you just have to understand it and figure out a way how it can help you and benefit you. I think when there's big changes like AI, it's not really worth fighting it or being, it's not really going to affect my job or my life. It is going to affect your job and your life, like the internet, like back when everyone were farmers and that changed. The Industrial Revolution, cars, internet. It's the same thing. You just need to adapt, figure out how to make it work for you, understand it, and I guess that's it.
Yeah, it's well said, and I think it's such an important thing, that the tool part of it, that's what so many of my conversations recently keep coming back to, is the fact that it's a tool. Just like you and I use email, we also get to leverage AI in so many different ways. Along those lines, you talk about being flexible and being nimble, and that's what I love about your entrepreneurial story, is that persistence of you're going to keep going along the way. Obviously, there are ups and downs in every single business. What are some of those challenges that, as you've built, obviously GoPayroll AI is already out there in the world, but I would imagine the building process took some time and took a lot of roadblocks along the way. What did some of those look like on your evolutionary progress to bringing this to the world?
You know what? That question ties in perfectly with the previous question of AI. Before I started GoPayroll, I attempted to do another technology company, which was an invoice automation company between businesses. So all the paper invoices, I tried to digitize all of them and eliminate paper completely and have different systems communicate with each other. So it took me about a year to develop that, and about $100,000 in development costs to engineers, development team, all this stuff. And then after a year, I launched the product, and no one used it. No one used it. It was so hard to sell. And that's one of the biggest lessons I learned when it comes to building something. It's like, first, figure out who's going to use your product. Make sure people want your product. Go and speak out. Go and speak to customers. Speak to the people that might use it. And then build something for them. Build a better tool for them. So going back to the AI, how it helped, and roadblocks, I mean, that's a huge roadblock, a huge setback at the time, where I'm like, oh my God, I lost a lot of money. How do I, come back from this? Eventually I did. And the great thing is that ChatGPT, I think it started a couple years ago, and ChatGPT is amazing at doing code. I'm not a coder, but I had to learn how to do a little bit of code, how databases worked, how programming worked, in order to not be in a position again of weakness where someone might be able to steal a software from me, or me lose money, or me not knowing what to do or how to build something. So I learned along with ChatGPT how to code, and I built, I would say, about 70% of the product myself with ChatGPT, and then the other 30% I hired developers to build it. So that's probably a great scenario of how you can use AI right now in technology to help you build something.
Yes, I love that story. And you're right. I love that back-to-back duo of questions because they do fit in so well. I think it's the rise of the non-technical founder. For so many years, I feel like all of us heard about technical founders, which are important and have been so important. But Lorenzo, the fact that you can go from 0 to 7 yourself not only saves time, but also allows you to validate ideas so much quicker. And I think it's powerful because it brings your mind, which you have a practical business mind in that background, into creating and shaping the technical stuff more intimately. And I think that that's a really powerful approach. Makes me want to ask you this because it's fun talking to you as the CEO of GoPayroll. When you look at the future, 5 years out, 10 years out, obviously so many things are going to change from the tech side of things, but what are your tangible goals? What are the questions you're asking yourself in your executive time? Where's your CEO mind go, not just that entrepreneurial mind?
Great question. So I always like asking myself, whatever I'm doing now, is it worth it to keep it for the long term? Is it worth it to keep it for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? I always like exaggerating, 20 plus years. If I'm going to keep GoPayroll AI for 20 plus years, or do I think I'm going to keep GoPayroll AI for that long? And the answer is yes, and I do think that. Then it's something I will do and commit to it, because I believe things you do need to be things that will stand the test of time, at least in my perspective, in my view as a CEO. Whatever I get myself involved in, I like for that to last a long time. I don't like going after these crazy fashionable businesses that might last a year, 3 years, or 4 years. I like solid businesses that will stay there for a long time, that you can grow. So that's where I see myself within 5 years, 10 years, keep running GoPayroll AI, and who knows, maybe open a different tech company that it connects well with GoPayroll. You'll never know. Your mind is always open, but right now my focus is fully this, and I always like focusing on just one thing and make sure it's done well, 100%.
Yes, that's why I always love people who use FOCUS as that acronym of follow one course until success. I think that as entrepreneurs, we are naturally idea factories, and there's a million things that we want to be chasing. But that question that you ask yourself is, do I want to be doing this for the next 20 years? It sets a very high barometer that you have to adhere to. And I would imagine that it also means that you're super picky in the decisions that you make. And that's obviously a good thing in business, especially in a world of shiny objects and flash in the pan business models. I remember years ago, Gary Vee was telling everyone, you got to go all in on Snapchat. And everybody who did exactly that, Snapchat lasted, it feels like just a blip in the time. So Lorenzo, I'm loving these insights from you. And listeners, we are going to tease a coupon code down below in the show notes. And I'm going to tee that over to Lorenzo in just a few minutes. But before we get there, Lorenzo, I always love asking this at the end of every interview. And that is, what's your best piece of advice for listeners? Knowing that we're being listened to by both entrepreneurs, and also knowing that you very much are one of us. It's funny, as much as we talked payroll today, I feel like your entrepreneurial thinking really shined. So with that entrepreneurial hat on, what's the piece of advice you want to leave listeners with?
You know what? There's so much advice on the internet. There's so many people saying, do this, do that, etc., etc., etc. And honestly, it's funny because I'm going to say some sort of advice, but okay, since you asked, I don't like necessarily giving advice, but if it were me, it's just follow your heart, follow whatever your mind tells you, listen to people, but at the end of the day, when it comes to your core, your decision making, just really follow your heart, follow your mind, and commit to that. And if it's going against a bunch of people that told you something else, so let it be. But just make sure you really follow your heart and listen to yourself and be honest with yourself. That's probably one of the hardest things to do, being honest with yourself in your decision making, in your relationships, where you spend your time, who you spend your time with, how you spend your time working. Why are you working in this? Do you like this? Do you not like this? So all these questions, ask yourself and just be honest. And if you think you're going to say yes and you like all these people you spend time with, the business you're in, the idea you're working on, then go ahead and commit to it. If there's some doubt, then honestly rethink and maybe don't take action yet until you have that conviction.
Boom. I love that advice. Lorenzo, I will publicly say, I've never said this to a guest, but I think anyone with a healthy dose of humility doesn't enjoy giving advice. But what I really want to call out, not only about you, but about so many of our guests, is that you give your advice from experience. And I think that really shines through in these pieces of advice. And I think that's what makes that advice different, is it's coming from within you. And you actually directly said it, is it's advice to yourself. And I think that the fact that we all get to hear it and the fact that we all get to learn from it is super valuable. So I'm so excited and grateful for the way that you've shared these things. I clearly called GoPayroll an absolute no-brainer during our conversation today, but I know that you want to make it even more of a no-brainer for our audience. So for listeners who have heard us talk about this, I very much invite them to check out your website, which you're going to drop that link in just a minute. But even from a brand perspective, from a messaging perspective, I think your website is brilliant. I think the way you guys show up in the world, the way you speak to your clients, it's so smart, and there's so many lessons to be learned there. But Lorenzo, I'm going to kick it over to you. For listeners who want to see more about GoPayroll, what's that link? What do you have in store for them? Drop those links on us.
Thank you, Brian. I'm humbled by your words. Thank you so much. So for all the entrepreneurs out there, the entrepreneurs, we have a very special coupon code only for this podcast, which is the code is Entrepreneur. So go to our website, www.gopayroll.ai, fill out a contact form, and then just enter the Entrepreneur keyword in the contact form, or send an email to support@gopayroll.ai, and we'll give you 6 free months of payroll. 6 free months of payroll. That's the best offer you're going to get anywhere. So that's only for the podcast viewers right now. And also, if you need any help, you're in doubt, maybe you have some sort of issue with your taxes, your current payroll provider, reach out, fill out a form. We'll help you out. We'll talk, and we'll show you a demo of the product. And only for the podcast, our listeners today. So use the coupon code.
Yes, I'm so appreciative of that, Lorenzo. Listeners, I'm going to call all of you out. Don't misspell Entrepreneur. Check the show notes down below, because not only are you going to find that link that Lorenzo just shared with us, but we are going to list out the coupon code of Entrepreneur. Super simple. As long as you can spell entrepreneur, just replace that front part. But no worries, you guys. You're going to find all that info down below in the show notes, no matter where it is that you're tuning into today's episode. Otherwise, Lorenzo, on behalf of myself and all the listeners worldwide, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Brian, thank you so much. So excited to be part of this community. And, if we were able to help one person today to fulfill the goals and take action, that's a win for me.